I feel very thankful to be here with all of you because it's nice to talk to people who are gonna get it in a way. I feel like sometimes when I'm traveling and I go to places where, especially when I go overseas, and there are places that are not as engaged or involved with American politics, that there's a sentiment of like we're just watching the show, and y'all are like cast in the show, and so that it's very different to have a chat with you. Because I'll be very honest with you, it's been taking me a long time to distill the way I feel about what is happening in LA. Because what's happening in LA over the past couple weeks is it's insane to watch, because I have plenty of friends in LA and I talk to them daily and everything, and I also watch the news, and not maybe since COVID have I seen such distant realities. Do you know what I mean? Like such like completely opposite ends of the spectrum, what is happening and what is said about what's happening. And okay, because if you're watching the news, everyone in LA is dead. They've been dead for a while. The military came, but they were too late. Everyone is, in fact, I think the military dead too. Like it's really just a black hole of death that no one can stop, but somehow the reporters are reporting. And it is strange, because when they send the reporter out to cover what some people are even calling the riots in LA, the reporter, not every single one of them, I'll get to them, but the reporter is standing there while everybody else is standing there. And they're giving a very different report than what we can see behind them. A lot of people don't know this about me, but from the time that I was a child, because I grew up in Louisiana, my family and all the families around me were all affected by Hurricane Katrina. So I have very, very strong feelings about protecting journalists, protecting reporters, and not putting them out there with the weather. Because we see it. We see the weather, and I believe you every time. Whenever you say it's a hurricane, and I look outside, I'm like, that look hurricane-like. I don't then need you to send our local newscaster to hold on to a telephone pole while he tells us how bad it is. The way that these people will almost be horizontal reporting on the wind speed, it's like we don't need them as a visual test of what is happening right now. Everyone watching is inside. There's no one watching from outside like, seems like I should probably move from where I am now. No, I hate that. I hate when it's like weather is one of those things where I'm like, I don't know what the spin could be. like to a certain degree, I understand when a journalist, when a newscaster feels the need to go. What this shows right now is how many of y'all don't put your phone on silent. Like there's no, I know it is. That's crazy. Well, then I will be quick then. Yeah. Okay, real quick. Just for a quick second. What? Flash flood. Oh no, the parade. Y'all. Don't do that. It's his birthday. It's not my birthday. But a great example, like a flash flood, and they'll put the newscaster in the water, and it's like, well, what we can see here, John, is it's another level of insane, because when it comes to the news and the weather, I don't know what the spin could be. There's a storm outside. No, it's not. Weather, as long as you're not talking about specifically climate change, is like the last bipartisan subject. It's like the last thing. There's no way that anyone hates, conservatives or liberals enough to see the rain and be like, but it's not. Like, that just doesn't happen. It's one of the last tethers to reality, and we make those newscasters go in it. These poor newscasters in Arizona look like they about to pass out. Half the reports they do talking about the heat. They got them over there, no shade. You can tell the budget of a newsroom by how they send the journalists out there, because sometimes they'll be out there and be like, blistering heat today in downtown Phoenix, temperatures reaching 111 degrees. Like, stop doing it. If it's hot, we can feel it, and when you tell us, we'll believe you. If it's a hurricane, this is one of the things that I have tried my best to be fair with, because you see people, and I really feel like this only happens here. There's no other country I know of where people proudly go out into the hurricane and like tap dance in the hurricane to show the rain that they're not scared. That's a distinctly American male thing to do, to be like, hey, ain't nobody scared of some water. Come and get me, and they're never seen again. Just saying, you don't really see that anywhere else. And I used to think that those were like the dumbest people in the world. But then as I got older, I was like, you know what? Maybe they just watched the news. And they were like, he's standing out there. And he telling me not to go outside. It's too dangerous, but he outside. What, he think I'm a punk? If he can be outside, I'll be outside. I'll be outside all I want. And then they go outside, and then they're never seen again. But the thing with people covering LA and standing in front of, whether it's LAPD or National Guard lined up, and protesters a distance away lined up, it's a very different thing, because now they're coloring it for you, but you can see behind them. And it's hard to know what to make of it. Because when I talk to my friends in LA, they're like, very chill. They're always chill, but like they're very chill in this specific instance. I called some of my friends because I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not better than anybody. I fell for some of like the propaganda that was going on. I called some of my friends immediately because I don't know LA neighborhoods that well. And I live in New York where if something is happening, it is happening to everyone. Thoroughly happening to everyone right now. You know? And so, okay, I'm digressing for a second, but just as an example, one time there was all I can describe it as is like a tiny tornado of trash. It literally was not taller than this mic stand, but it was spinning because it was a windy day out and the trash wanted to be together, I guess. And so the trash spinning. And it's like, I don't know, I grew up like, you know, deep south and everything. So whenever I see one of those, I'm like, ooh, that's a bad spirit. Like that's I get real superstitious real quick. If you a tiny tornado, if you an eye level tornado, I don't come near you, all right? That's a bad spirit. You got Dorito bags in you and everything. You got all types of disgusting stuff. No, I might get possessed. And so I was keeping my distance, but there were other people walking down the street. I actually crossed the street because I saw it up ahead. I was like, nah, I don't need those problems. Like, I like having my whole body, mind, and soul. I don't want some of it to be like Derek from 81st. You know what I mean? Like, that feel like who would possess you? Just somebody who like never had a job and burps as loud as possible. And so I crossed the street, but there were other people that were walking next to me that kept going, and they walked right into it. And even though I was across the street, I knew when they walked into it because my back was turned, and I still heard. I'm like, not walking into a Thai tornado with your mouth open. That's just irresponsible. And sure enough, that Thai tornado got like 8 people. Just being itself. If something happens in New York, it's happening to everybody. If one train is down, the city stops. We get around it, you know, people get mad, they get off the train, they run to work, they you know, hop on a bike or whatever, they take a cab, but like, one thing happens, it has a ripple effect. LA doesn't seem like that to me. Like I've been in different parts of LA and I thought all of it was like one thing. I couldn't have been more wrong. And so I was calling my friends and I was freaking out because I was seeing the stuff that was happening. Waymos. You know the driverless car that shouldn't exist? You know that thing that's just on the road and we all act like it's normal, but we're slowly acting out the plot of iRobot currently. You know that thing. Those were on fire. There were Waymos on fire. So I called my friends like, you not in a Waymo, are you? Oh, if you in a Waymo, get out right now. Because to be fair, we didn't really even know why the Waymos were on fire. Maybe there were people setting the Waymos on fire, but maybe the Waymos saw all the unrest and they were like, this is our time. One time I was with my friend in San Francisco and a Waymo passed by and he was admittedly very high. But he doesn't trust Waymos because the first time he ever took a Waymo was by accident because he lost his wallet, his phone, like he got all his stuff stolen, right? And so he asked a friend to get him a ride home. Okay, so he gets the friend to get him a ride home. He doesn't know that friend used the app Waymo instead of like Uber or whatever. So then he's high in the story too. He's actually high all the time, but he gets into the car and he's like, you know, a little fade, a little drunk, a little high. And then he gets in the car and then the car takes off. And so the way he told the story, I wasn't there. The way he told the story is finally he asked, you know, for a little music. He's like, dang, it's quiet in here, dog. Can you turn something on? And he half nodding off anyway, but he's like, can you turn something on? It's quiet in here, dog. Like, let's get it popping, you know. Can I get some? It doesn't matter what it is, whatever you like, dog. Anything. Yo, I know you hear me talking to you. And then he said he leaned forward. This is how he tells the story. He leaned forward and saw nobody was in there, and then he started praying because he was like, "No, you know what? You know what? You know what, Lord? You know I haven't been right. I haven't been right. And if you see me through this, I swear I'm gonna change my ways. If you see me through this right now, if you deliver me through, I'm gonna leave the alcohol alone. I'm gonna leave the weed." He gets home, he sees his house, he's like, "Thank you, Lord, thank you." And obviously he was lying because he was high when he was next to me. But a Waymo passed by and he was like, "That thing right there, nobody gonna believe me when I tell you, but that thing right there, I don't trust those things, all right? Let me tell you something right now. That thing over there, all AI, all self-driving intelligence stuff, don't trust that thing. Believe me, that's a transformer." Look, all I'm saying, if I wanted to act out the plot of one of the Transformer movies, what would I do? I come down to earth as a bunch of driverless cars, keep it easy for a little while, and then one day, boom. Don't get in there. Don't get in one of them. You're going to end up in his chest. I'm telling you right now. And so I called so many of my friends. I was like, "Hey, are you okay? Are you good?" And they were like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine." And they said they were fine with the annoyance of like they said that they were fine with the annoyance that I have when my mom calls me to ask me if I'm okay. She saw that there was a storm in New York, and I'm like, "No, it was just a bunch of trash. Spin in a circle. It's not that serious. You worry too much." No, they were genuinely like, "No, that's actually here." And they started explaining LA neighborhoods to me, and I'm not gonna lie, I glazed over. Like I just. But once I knew that they were safe and that everyone I knew was safe, I was like, well, then where is this happening? I know a lot of people in LA. I've called a lot of people. Everybody is fine. Where is this happening? It turns out it's all happening over like, I think 2 square blocks. I don't even know. It's like, it's such a small area. It might as well be a movie set. And it's crazy because if you listen to, Fox News, some of these outlets, you would think that the entire city was burning right now. There are people sharing stories on Facebook, and the entire place is devastated. And the president said, if I didn't send the National Guard, they'd be in shambles right now. But then when you look at video, and I'm not talking about video from protesters, I'm not talking about video of bystanders of the protest, I'm talking about video of people in Los Angeles, 2 blocks away from the protest. Yeah. There are people literally blowing bubbles. And there is no opposite to your city being on fire than bubbles. Bubbles are like a truly first world problem. And they weren't even blowing bubbles regular. They were over here like, once you do it with your foot in the air, that's too much whimsy for your city to be on fire. Not blowing bubbles like, blah, blah, blah. Look at that, that's so cool. I'm talking about, And it is difficult when When it's presented in front of you so heavily, an agenda with reporting versus just saying what happened. I didn't even know you could do that, by the way. It wasn't until I left the country and watched the news in other countries that you can just say what happened. Like when you watch the news in Spain, they don't even put a spin on it. They're just like, yeah, right there. They don't even try. This is what's crazy, is that the news around the world, they don't even try to be entertaining. They give it to you so straight, they don't even have good voices half the time. Sometimes there's a guy being like, yes, 2 people were found in the basement, and they said that they were trapped there by the man who lived there. Very dry, nothing. They're not putting on 2 people found dead. Like, it's... That's my favorite, by the way. I love when an anchor is like going out of a fun story to a sad story, but either they didn't get the stack of reports ahead of time, or they're just reading the prompter in real time, so they don't know that they need to do the tone shift, and so they just finish like promoting a shelter that has saved like 67 puppies or something. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that sweet? I mean, you just love to see stuff like that, don't you? Anyway, 15 burned to death in a fire. Oh. And then you see in their eyes that they're like, I already started high. I started up here if I drop it. And sometimes they try to drop it. They're like, found dead this morning. Don't act like you weren't talking the whole time. That was you the whole time. But you even see it in LA, because the misconception people have is that the thing that initially happened in LA versus like protesters and ICE and everything was like all over LA, was just all happening at one time, when actually it's around these very few square blocks. That's where all of it's like going down. You know, I'm not saying there weren't protests in other places, but those protests went on without incident. It's here. This is like the main sticking point, and this is what they keep shooting footage of over and over and over again, and showing you over and over and over again from different angles, right? And they're so thirsty for it that there was one dude that had a Mexican flag, was on a smashed up car, and you can see when you look at the picture that there are like 15 cameras surrounding the car looking up at him, and then everyone protesting is like a block down with nobody there. You know, because they're selling you a story. They're selling you a story about chaos that's unfolding and everything. And they even, you know, will have the newscaster out there. This journalist is out there. And I have a lot of respect for journalists. They do an incredibly difficult job, and they have to do it under constraints that some of us can't understand. Because if you worked your entire life to try to get to the truth, and then you finally get a job, maybe it's not even a well-paying job, and you're allowed to tell the truth until like your newspaper gets bought, and then it gets bought by a guy that's like, the truth though. I mean, what is truth really? Just say whatever I tell you to say. But it is a difficult thing to distill for yourself, because you have to. You can't just, I'm not saying that there was ever some golden age where all of media was honest and forthright. I'm just saying that it used to be a little bit more simple. That you were even overdoing it if you checked, 3 sources to see if something was true. Because there are things that used to be delivered with a little bit less. You still had the bias of the outlet, but it was a little less political at all times, and there was a little less looking for the bleed. Here's what happened, and I said it in a sexy voice. That used to be American news. And now we've slowly become this more and more and more like corporate warped version of trying to do the news. News became entertainment. It became a show. And you know there's a show, you know it's entertainment, because they're not delivering you the news out of the kindness of their hearts. I'm not saying that the journalists that are doing the news aren't dedicated. I'm saying that the body, the system and the machine that we look to for reporting is just, they're trying to sell razors in between every disaster. Like, that should tell you something, you know? Because you see the report, and you see people, chaos in the streets in LA. Look at everything that's happening. And then you like talk to someone who's in LA, or you even just look at an Instagram story that your friend made on a random day who's not that far from the protest. And you're like, I don't know, they are loading up their car with Trader Joe's. Like, that doesn't feel apocalyptic at all. Like, if you can get the sliced mango from Trader Joe's, I think the supply chain is intact. That's one of the first things to go. We don't even have mangoes like that. Oh, news says absolute chaos. And then you look at somebody's, just like legit, somebody's like TikTok that they're making. Not even about the protest, just that they're making. You know they live in LA. And while they're making this protest, while supposedly the city is on fire, they're finding parking. That's not supposed to happen ever. And one thing that can't be lost on us when we think about or talk about Donald Trump is the only thing that he's ever been successful in is reality TV. We don't know him from the steaks. We don't know him from the casinos. We don't know him from the vodka or the water, which was probably vodka. We don't know him from anything except truly reality TV. Even in real estate, it's like, okay, it's like a name, but I don't know anyone who ever lived on one of those properties. You know, it's the TV. He figured it out. He figured out reality TV, and he's still doing reality TV. He's just doing it as the president. The mix of reality and TV is a different cocktail for every show. You know, there are shows that are 10% reality and 90% TV, where if you took away the TV element, none of these things would happen. These people would know each other. And then there's some that are 50-50. Like, I feel like Love Island is 50-50. You know what I mean? Love Island to me is because, look, even if there was no show, these are the people who would be hooking up with these people. Like, this is every time you watch a cast introduced of Love Island, you're like, that seems right. Like, that's who everyone goes for that's in that group anyway. They all seem happy. There's never like a guy in Love Island that's like, so ladies. Just floating like an NPC. Like, it's always somebody with like 9 abs. And you're like, how do you get the extra? When he's standing up, when he's sitting down, it's very defined. You know, it's shows that are even mostly reality with a little hint of TV, just a little bit of producing to make sure it's polished enough for the people so that they can consume it and not be thinking about how they're on like a 5th episode of it, you know? And that's where Trump comes from. He comes from reality TV. It's the only thing that he's ever been really, really good at making, and that's what he's doing right now, reality TV instead of governing. Because if he were governing and he really wanted to be smart about it, this dude would do what he does best. He'd just lie. Think about this. This man lies about everything. And this immigration thing is the only thing he's like actually tried to do. It's very weird. Like, I just, it's a long walk, but stick with me for a second. As presidents go, most deportations have been going down. They were, I think, at least in recent memory, they were the last highest under Obama, but Obama did them all through the courts and everything. It wasn't just like a rounding up type of thing. And so then Biden had less, Trump even had less in his first term than Obama. And then now, Trump, right now, even with the show, has less than he had the first time. And it's weird to me because in the campaign, we were promised that there were millions. There were millions of illegal immigrant criminals. They were behind you. Have you checked your pants? They're in there too. They're under your bed. They're everywhere. You can't throw a constitution without hitting an illegal criminal alien. We were told that there were millions of them in the country. Yet somehow, when ICE really starts ramping up, because we're really doing this thing, it takes like a week before they were like, have you tried a school? Like, I don't know. Yeah, I can't find any. That's crazy. We got a couple that first week, but yeah, I guess there were only like 3,500 or whatever. I guess we're just gonna have to start going everywhere, and that's what they did. That's why it is the way it is, because ICE is over here trying to do these deportations, trying to grab people and everything, but I thought there were millions of illegal criminal aliens. Why are you finding them all at work? Like, I just had no idea that my local taco spot was specifically MS-13 Tacos. I had no idea that Tra de la Laringa, the gang I can't pronounce, I had no idea that that's who was like folding the clothes at Kohl's. Like, because that's what you've been led to believe. Every arrest is warranted. ICE is trying to do their job. All of this mandated makes sense. That's what you've been told. And the thing is, you need to make a show out of it, because even with all the chaos, even with all the footage, it's still less. That's crazy. Even with you going around the court, it's less. That's wild that it's still less, even with all of this show going on. Because what isn't a show, what's actually reality, is that people are being ripped away from their families. And these are hardworking people. These are people that have been here for a long time. These are a lot of people who are actually trying to do the right thing as hard as they possibly can. But the system is slow and it's imperfect. And then they get arrested by ICE at the courthouse for their hearing. And all of this when Trump could have just lied. He could have just been like, yeah, I did it. Who would say he didn't? All of his fans would be like, he did it. He said he was going to do it, and he did. I don't even know when he did. That was so fast. Damn. Even Democrats would be like, yay, you did it. At least. The one time he doesn't lie. And so you have this ICE operation happening on these square blocks, these protesters clashing with ICE. ICE doesn't feel safe. They don't feel like they can make movements and everything. And so then, the LAPD comes, and maybe the LAPD was there the entire time, I don't know, but the LAPD is there, and Trump sends in the National Guard. Now, he can't send in the National Guard just to arrest people and crack skulls and everything like that. So what he does, he tries to get around it by deploying the National Guard just to protect these two buildings. But then they're there in case ICE feels like they need their help detaining someone, or that they aren't able to carry out their operations, right? So, dangerous precedent, but whatever. So then Trump wants to send in the National Guard, which everybody, not every single person, but most people were upset about, because the LAPD, in case you're not aware from TV, from movies, or just from history, historically loves to whoop ass. That is their favorite thing. The LAPD can't stop whooping ass. They love, it's their number one. And so when the LAPD found out the National Guard was coming, I know they were probably like, but I didn't even get to. No, go ahead, send him. Yeah. No, you know what's best, send him in. No, you want to do it. And then the National Guard comes, and there's not a ton for them to do, because it's like 2 square blocks. No matter how many times they keep showing you the same footage over and over and over again of these things burning, of this like 3 stores that got looted. They show you the same thing over and over, but it's just not happening that way. And it's not that spread out. People are finding parking in Los Angeles. And so the National Guard gets there and they're like, all right, yeah, that, okay. All right, so there's nothing to do, and you deployed us without making sure we had a place to sleep. So then they're all on the floor. They're sleeping on the concrete with nothing to do, and everybody's mad now because National Guard didn't get paid what the LAPD is getting paid, so now the LAPD can't whoop ass. National Guard here for no reason. And then Trump is like, send the Marines then. I know if you're in the LAPD, you're like, the Marines? National Guard had to be like, the Marines? Even the Marines had to be like, the Marines? And the LAPD just sitting there like, I just want... Is whooping a little ass too much to ask? But I know that it's very, very, very important to understand what's reality and what's TV, and not to confuse the two. And the way to combat reality TV being everywhere all the time is real connection with real people. I was able to call people or text people who were in LA that told me, no, I mean, there was parking at Trader Joe's. Everything actually pretty chill. And without that, I might honestly be like, I don't know, y'all. There were 3 Waymos on fire. I took it as a lesson. And I would hope that more people see the things that were happening in LA and make sure that outside of any news outlet you follow, outside of like any narrative that you make the choice to believe, because there are so many varying narratives for every event that you do have to make choices, that above all of those things, you will talk to people. Because talking to people is the real perspective that you need. When you talk to someone who's really going through the thing, no matter what it is, no matter what it is, even bigger than LA, even bigger than the protest, when you talk to someone, you finally get from their perspective right to the root of an issue, as opposed to whoever's talking over them. And I think that for me, talking to my friends, making sure that they were safe, let me know that this thing was not what it was being made out to be. Don't get me wrong. I think that something was starting in LA, and I think that thing is scary. I think that there's a push to make authoritarian moves and to see how far things can be bent and how much people can be pushed and pulled before they'll do anything about it. And I think that LA was a perfect test for that. Let's take something that's really just 2 blocks and let's make it look like it's the entire city, and we'll see if they believe us. Let's send in all the cops we have, then the National Guard, then the Marines, and see how much people want that, if they go for it or not. So something is happening, and I would encourage every single one of you to hold on to everyone that you know. DC is one of those places where everybody is from everywhere, and everyone knows everyone everywhere else. And if you keep that type of global community together, you'll have no problem, in my opinion at least, distinguishing what's happening from what's not, because you'll have people that you can talk to, people that are really going through the thing in real time. I'm not saying don't watch the news at all. Sometimes they have newscasters on there who they put in the hurricane. It's very entertaining. Yo, DC, y'all been fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.
I guess we're all doing better than Diddy. Oh, what a week. All right, if you don't know, I'll try to bring you up to speed very quickly. Basically, Diddy has been the devil for decades. And it's really only this year that everything's sort of coming to roost, right? It sort of started with a lawsuit brought by his ex-girlfriend, Cassie. And, in the lawsuit is detailing horrific things you will not, you will feel sick if you read the lawsuit. And Diddy said it was all a lie. Just nothing but disgusting lies about his character, and he settled the lawsuit the next day. I don't know about you, but I've never been lied on so hard that I was like, you better stop lying about me. I will pay you as much as you want for you to stop telling me all the stuff I supposedly did. I want to make sure that this is, how much does the check need to be? It won't be in escrow. It'll be in a check form in the morning. But I will pay you as much as it takes for you to stop lying before people start looking into what you said because everybody else is saying it. Well, no, it's crazy. And even more recently, more allegations and more investigations have been going into Diddy being an alleged, legally you have to say it, being an alleged sex trafficker and everything, to the point where, this week, the FBI raided all of his houses at once, just to make sure, every single one at the same time, make sure he wasn't house hopping or anything, just going everywhere. They grabbed all the homes and the homies, and they pulled everybody outside, and it was truly astounding to watch, because if you've ever watched, I watch a lot of news, so I remember the Roger Stone raid. Anytime the FBI or Homeland Security does a raid, it's a weird hierarchy that you notice, because they'll show up to do the raid, right? So FBI or Homeland Security, they'll be fitted up, right? Top to bottom, they got the AR-15, they got the vest on, full body armor, they got the boots, they got the helmet, and then sometimes they actually have backup. Backup is SWAT. So then SWAT is also there dressed like SWAT, and we know what SWAT is dressed like. And then it will just be the regular police. And it kind of made me feel bad for the local police, because imagine you show up to work and all your coworkers look like Call of Duty that day. And you just have to show up with your chest. That's unfair to them. If I was a cop, I'd be like, y'all ain't got any extra ARs in the trunk or anything. I can't hold something. Y'all just showed up all prepared. Y'all said he dangerous. You know what? I'm gonna wait next to the car. That's what I'm gonna do. Y'all, this is bull. I'm not doing. And truly, watch any FBI raid. All the local police are next to the cars in the street. They're like, no, they gonna get them. They gonna get them. Oh, you better watch out, because they coming. All right? But yeah, they raided all that dude's houses at one time, pulled people out, were interrogating people, were trying to look for stuff in the houses. And meanwhile, a lot of people have been waiting on Diddy's downfall for a long time, so they track his movements. And I want to take a quick second, because a lot of people, as this is mainly a black thing, knowing about Diddy. It feels like the world didn't know. But black people, we knew. We were like, nah. Something happening with him that seems off. I don't know if I love that either. That's just been us for 2 decades with Diddy just being like, did y'all see? You know what I mean? And so a lot of other people are catching up. So then there are things, when anything like this comes out, there are things where people ask, why is everybody talking about it now, coming forward now, stuff like that. I want to be clear. Diddy is not like a Harvey Weinstein in that way, right? Because with Harvey Weinstein, everyone started coming forward, and then people were like, why didn't y'all say something sooner? Look at him. We would have believed you. We don't do a good enough job of believing women, but with Harvey, I'd be like, whatever y'all say he did, he did. I can just see it from his build that he did whatever. But Diddy's a very different thing. Diddy's scary. A lot of people are scared of Diddy. And you want to know one of the reasons why people are scared of Diddy? Because of where he comes from. There's gangsters, then there's gangsters. Okay? Diddy's dad has ties to Frank Lucas. If you don't know Frank Lucas is who Denzel played in American Gangster. That's who Diddy's dad hung out with. That's who Diddy's dad did business with. So when you ever rewatch American Gangster and you see that scene when Frank Lucas, Denzel, stands up and in the middle, broad daylight, middle of the sidewalk, a dude disrespects him and he pulls out a gun and he shoots him in the head and kills him in front of everybody because he knows nobody will say anything. That's who Diddy's dad ran with, right? That's who taught him his like ABCs and stuff. You know what I mean? When you see that scene, that's a bone-chilling scene because it happened. That happened. He did that. He killed someone broad daylight because he knew no one around would say anything, right? So when you see that scene and you see Denzel do that, just know that one of the extras in the background, at least one of those kids, is Diddy. That's terrific, you know? And that's why people are getting so scared of him, because we know that he just moves differently, you know what I mean? And a lot of people have been waiting on his downfall for a long time. So when the FBI was raiding, people were like, where is Diddy? And you know how these kids are now? They're very smart. They can track anything. They tracked Diddy's plane. And so while the FBI is raiding all of his homes at one time, Diddy's plane is leaving America. And I don't mean getting fueled up. I mean, the plane is over just blue. That's the ocean. The plane is gone, right? And the plane is headed for Antigua. Now, Antigua is still extradite. So a lot of people are like, why would he be going over to Antigua? Then other people said, hey, maybe he's landing in Antigua because everybody knows that's his plane. He's going to land in Antigua. He's going to get on a friend's smaller plane, and he's going to go to a country that doesn't extradite, like Bali, right? So then that plane lands in Antigua, it comes right back. When it lands, turns out Diddy was never on the plane. He was in Miami the whole time. This man is a terrible rapper and an incredible villain. I've been thrown for a loop consistently with him. Like, this man should be in a James Bond movie. You know, a lot of people are just waking up to how Diddy is, you know. We knew. You know how you know that we knew? Diddy's the only black billionaire we didn't root for. It's a very big deal when you get a black billionaire. We're always like, oh yeah, he did it. You know, I remember when that guy, you know that guy that gave the commencement speech at Morehouse, and at the end of the speech he said he was going to pay for all the kids' student loans. That moment went viral. It was crazy. Kids were crying and everything, jumping up, screaming. I looked it up. I found the guy. His name was Robert Smith. Turns out he's a billionaire. He didn't give me any money, but I was at home like, we got Diddy became a billionaire. We were like, good for you. I don't know about y'all, but I absolutely love when home drama spills out into the world. You know what I mean? I don't watch a lot of reality television, so I love when a real life couple just can't take it anymore. You know what I mean? Like they have to have it out, and they have to have it out now. And now is here. And here is where I am. So I get a free show. You know? I think it happens a lot in New York City because we don't have space. Like, y'all have real homes here. Y'all can be like, we will discuss this later. In New York, we don't have that. We're like, I want to argue in private at home, but home don't have no elbow room. I want to argue where I can move a little bit because I'm passionate with my movements. Now, if I'm arguing at home, what time I was arguing at home, and I went like this to be like, oh, wait, just like to hold it up, and then I hit my elbow, and there's no way to look right when you just stand there like. So sometimes couples just have to have it out in that moment, And I was walking. I try to do this at least once a week. I was on a walk with no AirPods in, right? Just really like be around in the world, And I think it's an important thing to do because it opens you up to what's happening around you. And I would have missed this had I had my AirPods in. I was walking, and as I'm walking, I see this dude bust out of the door of his house, right? He's running down the stoop of his brownstone, no shirt on, anything, looking terrified, like, what? And so I turn and I see what I can only imagine is his girlfriend or wife running behind him. And I was like, all right, this seems awesome. Let's see how it goes. And she has something in her hand, but it doesn't look like a gun, so I'm like, I'm willing to stay and see this through. Because if it's a gun, people get upset, they miss. Now she done shot me, I'm bleeding out. I'm not even part of your love. I'm laying there holding my wound, y'all done worked it out. Like, this could all be for nothing. It's just she's holding something, but I can't see what it is, right? And as he's running down the stoop, she runs down with him, and she gets to this specific step, and then she goes like this, right? She goes like this, and then a piece of what she was holding flies out and hits him in the back, and he goes, ah! And then she lets go of the other thing that she was holding. It slides down the stairs, and when it slides down, it's close enough for me to see. And when I look, it was the sleeve of a Hot Pocket. This woman done burned the hell out of this man with a Hot Pocket. In the known universe, there are about 4 states of matter, right? There's gas, there's liquid, and there's solid. There's also plasma. Now, plasma can reach a temperature of about 45,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and just under that. Close second is Hot Pocket juice. Hot Pocket juice must be studied. This will burn your soul. Hot Pocket juice is far too hot. It is absolute insanity, okay? Because we've all been there. We've all been there where you were hungry, you heat up the Hot Pocket, that's gonna be quick, and then you went ahead and you put it higher than the instructions say, because you know when you follow the instructions, the middle cold. So then, you put it at least 2 minutes higher than the instructions say because you got a different type of microwave. Your microwave doesn't work like the box says. And so you put an extra 2 minutes, but now we're into heated territory that no one, even the people at the company, are aware of, right? And then you pull the Hot Pocket out, you hold it by the sleeve, and you wouldn't even be in this situation if you could just be a gentleman and wait, right? But you're hungry, you're greedy, you can't help yourself, and so you do blow. You give it a good try, too. You blowing the bread. You're not doing anything for that juice inside. That juice is still bubbling like lava. Wait to bust out. And so then you take your first bite, and because you're hungry, because you're being greedy, you bite too hard, the juice pops out, it hits your lip, and you go, ah! now you coughing because steam coming out of your mouth because you got the cornbread in your mouth with all the juice burning everything. Burning teeth. Just burning. Inexplicably, just burning and burning and burning. It's terrible. This woman was running after this man. We don't know what he did. I didn't stay for an interview. This woman was running down the stairs after this man and had the Hot Pocket sleeve in her hand and reared back like an ancient weapon. Reared back. And flung the Hot Pocket out, flung it like she had done it before. Like, she must be burning him weekly to have this sort of aim. If this was a game show, I could never sling it and hit what I wanted to hit. And she hit, not only did she hit him, she hit him in the middle of the back. She hit him in the spine. So it's in just enough of a position that he can't really reach it. Like it's not here, it's not here. Like this man is fighting for his life right now. She gave him 32nd degree burns. And my man's like, ah, and I want to help, but I'm like, I'm not going to burn my fingers. Like, and then I had never stopped walking the entire time, but I did take off into a brisk jog. Because as he was holding the railing of his stoop, I saw her lift another Hot Pocket. I was like, let me leave before I witness a murder.
I don't know if y'all heard, by the way, but the Olympic Committee has decided to lift the intimacy ban in the Olympic Village, right? Yeah. Now, in case you didn't know, whenever people go to participate in the Olympics, right, especially for the Summer Olympics, they all stay in one big Olympic village together, and while they're there, they smash, all right? These are the best athletes in the world. In the peak of their physical prime, they're going to get it on, right? But Olympics is every 4 years, so 2024 Olympics means that last Olympics was that time we do not speak of, right? And in that time, they tried to have some semblance of the Olympics, and so they told the athletes, they were like, listen, something going around. The last thing we need is y'all making something new. So just come here, compete, go home, all right? But then you fast forward to present, 2024 Summer Olympics are in Paris, City of Love. Not only have they lifted the intimacy ban, they've committed to having 300,000 condoms in the Olympic Village. That's ambitious. 300,000 condoms. There's only 10,000 athletes. 300,000 condoms. Half the athletes are men. They expect 5,000 men to go through 300,000 condoms in the span of like 2 weeks. I am not an Olympic athlete. But on the night of my life, I went through 2. There is no way. That is too many condoms. That is too much pressure to put on these young men. It really is. They are already flying from around the world to win glory for their country. And now they got to worry about putting a dent in their pile. That's not fair. It's too many condoms because you acting like all the athletes are going to smash equally. They won't. Because you can be honest, when you think about the Summer Olympics, you think about the track stars, the swimmers, the gymnasts, the sexy athletes. Nobody's thinking about the equestrians. No one's like, he just ride that horse so good. I wonder what else he could. No one has said that ever. In fact, when you watch the sport, you're like, it seemed like the horse doing all the work. No. Like, it wouldn't be a problem if it was like maybe the Winter Olympics, you know? Winter Olympics could get through 300,000 easy. Right? First of all, they need the warmth, right? Second, if there's any athlete from any sport that could get through 300,000 condoms in a couple weeks, it's the curlers. People love to act like the curlers don't get any. That entire sport is foreplay, top to bottom, all right? Every time they're playing, every time they send that rock down the ice, what do they do? Every single time, just, nice and gentle to get it started, you know what I mean? And then they send it down to that other guy on the other side of the ice with the broom, and he just... doing it just right so it hits a specific spot. Am I the only one watching the sport? Because that's my big issue. I just feel like, how do I put this? Okay, I feel like when it comes to summer sports versus the winter sports look really, really cool. And all the sports are hard to do. All the people that participate are athletes, right? I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying that the people who aren't athletes that do those things still look cooler when it's winter. Does that make sense? Like if you were snowboarding and then you accidentally hit some like slope and you do something cool in the air, people still gonna want to bang you when you land. But if you playing table tennis, there's just a lot of the summer sports that are very virgin adjacent is what I'm... Do you know what I mean? Like the winter sports are like an event. Like even now, even in life, if you went on a trip and you were like, I'm going skiing, it's like, oh, you're going skiing. This is about to be dope, right? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I do think that people who do like the shot put and stuff, those are very impressive athletes. But if you walked up to somebody in life and said, I throw, it doesn't hit the same. You know what I mean? Like, there's just activities that are very impressive when the athletes do them, but if you're not an athlete, it's not impressive. Even the javelin. You look at the javelin, when an Olympic athlete does it, when they walk up and they do that, and then they like blah blah, and then it just goes forever. Wow. When you see like a regular guy do it. I was in high school and I saw, okay, it was a kid. He was supposed to be the best one at this other school because I wasn't on the track team, but I was like adjacent to the team. Like if somebody got hurt, they would let me run. But they knew I wouldn't win, so it was just to appease me because I kept coming to all the meets and I kept dressing out like I was one of them. But they were like, "You slow, you can't be with us." But I was like, "Yeah, but sometimes y'all trip, and one of these days it's gonna be my time to shine." And they were like, "Yeah, but the other kids will still be fast." And I was like, "We'll worry about that bridge when we cross it, right?" But anyway, there was a meet where this kid had a javelin, and this was a bad track meet to begin with because they had everybody doing everything at the same time, right? And so then they had some of the kids running to qualify at the same time as kids were throwing the shot put and stuff. Now, people weren't really that strong, so things weren't going that far, but there was this one kid that was very good, and then he threw the javelin, and then he threw the javelin, and then you just heard and there's no way to catch a javelin in your body that doesn't make it look like you shouldn't be dead. Like, because it hit this kid in the leg, like it hit just in the leg, right? Which is incredibly painful, but it's so much stick hanging out the leg, it's like, how did it not go through your leg? I don't think you dying right now. You should have, like if this was war, if this is the movie, you'd be, you know what I mean? You just over here, you know what I mean? I feel like what I'm saying is starting to make sense. I feel like you're getting it. It's that the summer sports just have so much range. You know what I mean? Like in winter sports, there's like bobsled or something. Bobsled still very cool, going super fast. And then you get to the end. Even if you last place, you went so fast, there's somebody at the finish line that's like, what are you doing later? Like, you know? But if you're the discus at the Summer Olympics and it just, you throw your hardest, right? You throw it as far as you can, and then it just go, and then it doesn't hit that line, right? Because they already have the line of what would be impressive. This impressive line right here, if you get it past that, people go, ooh. If you get low, people are like, oh. And then you threw it as hard as you could, and oh. You going home alone. That's just the way it's going to work. But I hope it works out for the summer athletes. I really do. I hope they get it on. Because selfishly, I want to see what some Olympic-made babies look like. You know what I mean? Like a medalist in judo and a medalist in the high jump. That sound like how you make a superhero. You know what I mean? No, I hope they smash to their heart's delight. I really do. I want to see any like mixing. Like gold can't get with bronze. All right? Like we might not be making a winner. All right? I think family is incredibly important, right? But it does suck. Like, here's the thing. I don't know how to describe this. And this is not a perfect, I haven't thought it all the way through. So I haven't actually thought of a solution. I really am just up here complaining, okay? But it does feel upsetting sometimes that when you marry, like I've watched a lot of my friends get married, right? And when you marry, you're in the family, but you just wanted them. Do you know what I mean? Like you love them, and then a bunch of people you don't know are like, no, us too. We all go together now. Inseparable. We're family. You know? And sometimes it works out beautifully. Like sometimes you meet someone, you fall in love, and their family is also delightful. And that's very sweet. I love that. I love that for my friends. I love that for my family members as that's happened to. But then sometimes you meet someone and y'all fall in love, and then you get introduced to people that you're like, ooh, I don't want to have anything to do with, I don't want to have anything to do with what you got going on. Like, that's not why I came. You know what I mean? It feels like going to a restaurant, right? And being like, oh, I'll get the wings. And they're like, and you'll have the burger. And you're like, I can really only fit wings, right? And that's why I only ordered the wing. No, trust me, the burger comes with the wings. And if you don't have a sufficient amount of burger, the wings will get mad, all right? The wings will be like, why don't you care about my burger, right? And you'll be like, I just wanted you. I didn't sign up for burger. I just wanted, I don't even like beef like that. Like, I just wanted some chicken wings. And you're great. It's like, yeah, but the beef, and we were raised together. Like, we should all find a way to get along. And you're like, this metaphor has run out. No, I just look, I've watched it happen, and it seems like a real bummer. It seems like, because you know that your friends will tell you about it. They'll tell you about what's going on, and it'll be some in-law and something, and they're not getting along, and I'm like, man, that's because you can't even really yell at them good because they're not actually your family. Do you know what I mean? Like, at a certain amount of yell, like if it's your brother, your sister, you can let somebody have it. Y'all grew up together, and even if you were in separate households or whatever, you can still, that's your bloodline. You can be like, you're an idiot, right? When you put in law on the back end, it just takes all the juice out of. Like, some people still have a very good relationship, and I love that for them. But some people are like, my brother-in-law is a real, he's, you just want to choke. It's not even just, it's, sometimes I dream about just punch the back of his head until I just pull back, the knuckles are just mush. I hate him so much, I don't even have words. And then you have to be like, but that's your brother, but not, right? Oh, one of the most interesting cases of it I'd seen was, okay, so this kid from my hometown got married young, right? So they got married like almost right out of high school. So they're like 19 and stuff. And they want to be married to each other, but they're weirdly self-aware that they don't really have the resources to start a life, right? So they just married at home, right? They didn't have to do this at all, right? But they spend a lot of time at her grandma's house. Now, they're married, right? But then the grandma got remarried because the granddad had been gone for a while and the grandma could still get it, right? So she was out getting it, right? And so, you know, she was out playing the field and everything, and then she found somebody to settle down with, settle concrete with, right? Because this is the last one, right? And it's like, and so she found somebody, and then, you know, that guy is now hanging out around the grandma. Now, his wife loves her grandma, loves hanging out with her and everything, so they're over at the house a lot. But he has a very weird situation because he has an in-law now, right? The grandma is his in-law, but she just got married again. So now this guy is like a step granddaddy. And if you think things can be fraught with a stepfather, a step granddaddy cares so little about you. Because he's like, I almost didn't meet you. Like, I don't, like, everybody grown. Like, we don't have to be talking right now. And so he had a step granddaddy kind of in-law, right? I've lost how this works. But all I know is he didn't have a in-law granddaddy, but then that stepped in, so now he's the step granddaddy, and that guy's name is Earl, and Earl is a dick, right? Earl using all the time he have left to just be an asshole. Which normally I would be on board with, but it was happening to my friend, so it was just kind of funny. Like Earl would be watching TV, and then they come over and he still want to watch his show. And then he would say, because the grandma was never watch TV, she was always cooking or doing something, right? So it would just be him and Earl sometimes in the room while she was chilling with her grandma. And he'd be like, hey, can we watch like anything else? Because Earl would love to watch like Star Trek, stuff like that. And he's like, can we just watch the news, anything that's happening, right? Besides this. And Earl would be like, yeah, sure. And then he would get up and like go to the bathroom or something. But what he had done when he was getting up was he snuck the batteries out the remote and put them back and gave them to my friends. Now he just pressed it thinking that the TV not working. You could have said no. At a certain point, you're like, man, why are you here? Why am I here? Why are we doing this? And Earl had he had this raspy voice. I say he's still alive. He had this super raspy voice where he'd be like, so y'all just gonna stay for dinner? Eating up all the food. Earl didn't even cook. Her grandma cooked. But he would still get he would watch my buddy eat and watch him eat. He got the same food on his plate, by the way. This is how you know Earl a true hater from the core. Because he eating the same, it's not like my friend has something delicious he can't have. He just hates that this dude also has cornbread. So he's like, staring him down. Nastiest thing Earl ever did was Earl Earl was like in a chair for a little while, right? And he had like twisted his ankle, and so he was in like a little wheelchair, right? And he wasn't leaving the house much. But one time it was him and my buddy in the room. And without saying a word, they just watching Star Trek. He given up on trying to switch shows and stuff like that. He's like, well, I'm with Earl, I'm just gonna watch Star Trek, and that's it, right? Earl leans until he tips out of his wheelchair, and he laying on the ground. And when everybody come in, he pointed to my buddy. He was like, why would you push me like that? I've been taking stock of my friends and what's going on in our lives and everything. And just, I'll say that as men, we collectively don't seem to be doing well. Like, things are rough in lots of different areas, lots of categories. In the jeopardy of men, we are in jeopardy. Near every facet of life feels like more confusing, more difficult to navigate in a way that feels like you are definitely doing the right thing. I do believe that lots of people are doing their best, truly. I just also think that, okay, as an example, I can't read a map. I can't, like, you give me even if you gave me a map of this building and pointed to where I was right now and told me to get to a specific bathroom, I'm probably gonna end up outside. Like, I cannot seem to read a map. As much as I try, I end up turning it. So I tried to be a Boy Scout for a little while. It was terrible. And because when you try to be a Boy Scout, like when you really trying to go for all the badges at once, everything, and you really not getting anything, you are just being a problem in the woods. And one of the things was, like, I could not work a compass because I was like, so it's supposed to go in every time, right? And they were like, no, it's supposed to show you where north is by how it's positioned, but it doesn't have to point north every time. I'm like, oh, okay, because it's dangling. And they were like, well, did you let a magnet touch it or something? And I was like, I don't see what that should have to do with anything. Like, they're like, no, well, the compass works off, like, the poles of so if you touch it with a magnet, it confuses the... So you got a piece of paper telling me where I am and where I need to get, and then you gave me a cup of metal that points anywhere it wants to. And somehow I'm the one that doesn't know what he's doing. Why are we even in the woods right now? We live inside. Have you ever thought of that? Try as I might, I could not read a map. Even if you lay the thing out, where I needed to go, where I was now, and the way to get there, it's like in practice. I couldn't close that gap in my mind because I knew that the map is a suggestion. It's a good one, but the map doesn't have to do all these steps. Even the compass is a tool, but if it's spinning, we might as well be Pirates of the Caribbean or something. Like, that doesn't... This thing doesn't help me at all. I don't know where it's pointing, and it won't be still. I'm being still, it won't be still. How does that work? Is north moving? Is north on its own journey? Try as I might, I could not seem to read a map, and that is what it feels like to, at least to me, be a man now. There's a map, and the map is laid out with lots of good suggestions, and you even get tools along the way to make sure that you get to where you want to be, which is being a successful man, being a good man, being, you know, a respected man. But then in actual practice, walking that road, you're like, look, the paper says. But when I look around, it's tough. It is, especially with love. Like in regards to like love, attraction, seeking someone out and meeting someone you like, trying to take it to another level. It can be difficult because if you are, I won't even say good, if you are at least a regular man, bad men have ruined everything for you. And I'm not talking about the like, but I'm a good guy. I'm talking about if you are just a regular tax-paying citizen who doesn't do any crimes and is generally nice to people, maybe a wave. Not even talking about a good, outstanding man. If you're just a regular guy, bad men have ruined everything for you already before you got there, right? It's like they showed up in the room right before you and farted. And then you walk in and you can't prove it's not you. But you know it's not you. You know you didn't do anything. And the bad man that farted has already left the room. We're all living in his wake. You know, and it's hard to find the actual bad man sometimes because you know he's stealthy, he's disguised. You know what I mean? You'd have to follow him around all day. You'd have to follow him every waking minute just to have the proof that he's a bad man. You would. That's why it takes years sometimes to figure people out. You'd have to hunt him down and then take the picture and run into the room and be like, he was eating beans. Those were his farts. You just have guys that maybe don't have someone to tell them how to go about life, like that, whether you call it a father figure or just like friends in general that can be that sort of guiding light of here's how you handle each situation, especially when it comes to dating. Like who you pick to be with is a huge part of your life because it's gonna be most of your life picking people, you know. And we're not doing fantastic. And I say that as like not from a place of judgment, just from looking around. It's pretty apparent. You know, you look at the internet is fueled with so much anger, like so much hate. A lot of it is resentment for what people don't have or don't feel like they can get, you know, and it leads people to not take care of themselves. One of the most like attractive things you can do is take care of yourself. Just let the water. You know, I can tell exactly how depressed my friends are by how it smells when I walk in their apartment. Do you know what I mean? Like every once in a while you get like a little whiff here and there, and it's like, you just came back from a game of pickup basketball. It's gonna be like that in here. And then sometimes you visit a buddy, and you're like, ooh, she left. Yep, she's gone. Like I have friends who, obviously, friends that are trying to date everybody across the spectrum. But one thing that I have found as a point of frustration is when people don't listen to me about things that feel, they feel pretty apparent. You can take my advice, you cannot take my advice. It doesn't actually affect me. I just want people to be happy, right? And so a good example is like when your friend says he's got a date and that she's coming over, and you're like, here. And then he has the nerve to be like, what? No. You know what? Here is what? What is here? Or then I'll have a conversation, I'll have a conversation with some of the women that I know in my life that will not believe me when I give them advice about men. But I have no ulterior motive. I'm just like, hey, this thing is happening. Just so you know, I'm trying to be helpful. And it's weird because we as people accept a lot of things as an idea, in a big way, right? So you'll hear the men are dogs, blah, blah, blah. Every man wants one thing. All guys are after the same thing. And those are almost principles that people live by. But then when you tell your friend, hey, that's a dog. And then she's like, no, not Mark. He's so sweet. It's like, what are you doing? We just established that and there's a level of frustration that comes with that when it would be like if someone came to you, right? Like a dog owner came to you and they were like, I don't know why my dog is doing this thing. And then you told them because you're someone who has trained dogs, been around dogs a lot. So you're like, this is why your dog is doing it. Oh, you also in this scenario happen to be a dog. So then you're a dog that's trained dogs and been around dogs all your life, telling someone, because you are a talking dog, you can speak, telling them why this dog is doing that thing. And then they're like, no. That doesn't sound right. But it is. It is. No, not Mark. He's so sweet. I've known him for so long. I'm telling you, that's a dog. Not Mark. Mark is the sweetest. You don't know him like I know him. Like, I don't even know him at all. I know the 4 facts you've told me about Mark, so I know exactly what Mark is trying to do. No, not sweet Mark. I'm like, you need to stop calling him Mark. From now on, his name is Arr, Arr, Arr. That is a dog. You wouldn't believe the conversations I've had trying to be helpful. You know what I mean? Like, especially in like high school, like college. You try to help your friends and everything. Conversation. Wait, you mean to tell me that this guy is just hanging around me and secretly wants to be with me and is willing to be friends with me for years just so that he might have a chance, be my friend throughout all of my other relationships, and likes to go on these, like, not quite dates, but mini dates where we go to the movies together and then we get dinner and then we go back to my place and hang out and then fall asleep together. You mean to tell me that guy is trying to be with me? He thinks about being with me all the time. He wants to to hang out with me more even. He always seems a little sullen and slow to text back when I start dating a new guy, but that's just because he's busy. There's no way that he wants to be with me. And then I have to be like, yeah, what do you think I'm doing? Oh, it's tough. And one of the things that makes it tough for like boys, but especially young men, is that there isn't a sort of roadmap, and I don't expect there to be, because like human connection is so nuanced, and what people mean to each other is going to be different by a different degree for every person. But I think that in like popular culture and as a general narrative, we have started to just straight up vilify a man's attraction in general. And it's something that I don't know how you recover from if that's the narrative that's out there. And I understand why people are hesitant. It's a thin line. It's a very thin line to walk as a dude who is attracted to someone and trying to act on that thing. Try and let them know you're interested, trying to make the first move. It's a tightrope, and it's scary to do. Not just because rejection is scary, but the thing you do next will determine how they feel about you probably forever. Because there's not a lot of going back you can do if you're friends and then you try to be more, or if you shoot your shot with a person you don't even know. All that stuff takes a lot of bravery. And it's not always going to be done right, especially when you're young, you're making mistakes, you know? Like, I remember in class, my buddy, he had the biggest crush on this girl. You know, and we're young, and he didn't know what to do with all that pent-up energy. So he's daydreaming, and he starts drawing her. Decides to draw her, and draws a beautiful picture of her, right? Like, got her hair as if it was blowing in the wind, got her face perfect. He was a really, really talented artist, right? So he drew her, and he drew him. And then, just by happenstance, because he was so lost in it, he didn't catch that the bell had rung. And so we're all getting up, we're all leaving, and then she passes his desk. She sees it, and she's like, "Hey, is that me?" And he has to be like, oh, yeah. And he had drawn her so beautifully. She was genuinely touched. She was like, "That's amazing. You're so talented. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful." And I don't know, I think she was just so taken aback because none of us knew he could draw that well, you know? And so she was like, can I have it? And he was like, yeah. And he was leaning on his desk right next to where he was finishing up some touches on her. And he's like, yeah, but now he doesn't want to move. Because he also drew him next to her. And he drew a version of him that is unrecognizable. He drew a version of him with abs. Y'all, we're 13. He drew a version of him with abs, with boulder shoulders, like truly looking like an anime character, just jacked, top to bottom, knuckles jacked, everything. Had the big old muscle behind the ear, everything. Hair flowing, hair almost as good as hers. But you know, people are walking out, and he already said that she could have it. And so she's like, "Can I have it?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." Leans up a little bit, and so she finally sees the other side, and she's like, "Oh." Is that you? And my man sat there and was like, Nah, like that's just the, the type of dude I want you to find. You know what I mean? Like somebody that, you know what I mean, like you really deserve, you know what I mean? Like just somebody you might meet one day who's right in front of you. Because so much of attraction is about timing. We don't give timing enough credit. There's all this stuff like if one guy does one thing and another guy does the same thing, and the woman goes for one of the guys, it's because he's more attractive and the other guy's creepy, or we've seen this sort of narrative play out over and over again. But what we don't talk about in those situations is the timing. When did this person say this thing? When did this person say this thing? When did this person do this thing? When did the other person do it? So much of attraction is about timing. And I've talked to my friends and I've asked them before. I'm like, what are you even looking for in a guy? And I'm like, I just want like an honest guy. And I was like, I'm gonna stop you right there. Because so many men are such freaks that you really gotta parse out the honesty over time. Some people think that omission is dishonesty, right? But omission might be why you're in a relationship. Because if you knew top to bottom who they were immediately, it might make you hesitate. I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying be a liar. I'm saying that honesty comes to a point. Like, let's say you meet someone that you very much like, and maybe it's just off of the connection, seeing each other from across the room. He walks over and he says to you plainly, "Hi, my name, right? I don't know you, but I'd like to. Would you have dinner with me? I think that we could have a really good time." You know what I mean? You see that thing alone, I feel like that's almost perfect. That's like out of a movie, right? But an honest man, a truly honest man, walks up to you. Honest from the bottom of his heart. Doesn't know how to lie. It doesn't come naturally to him. An honest man walks up to you and says, Hi, I just noticed you, and I know I don't know you, but I'd like to. And I'd love to take you out sometime, if that's okay. And I'll suck your toes if you let me. Do you see where he should have stopped? Do you see where a certain amount of honesty was too much? It was true in both cases, but one guy had the common sense to stop talking at a certain point. Honesty is important. Honesty is very important. But I also think if you're being honest with a person and you're being self-aware at the same time, there are things that you omit on the front end until you get to know them. Some people think omission is lying, but I think omission timed well is like the appropriate time to tell someone something. You start dating a guy, maybe it's going really well. Maybe it's a week, 2 weeks in, slept over a few times. You wake up, you roll over, he's like waking up as well, and he's like, "Hey, you want breakfast? I make some mean pancakes." Perfect. Wake up next to an honest man. You're waking up. You roll over, he's waking up. You're like, "Hey, you hungry? I make some mean pancakes, and I've actually been awake for an hour. I was just smelling your hair." Been been dating somebody for a little bit. You're texting, Oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? I'm good. Miss you. Miss you too. Oh, how'd you sleep last night? Oh, slept okay. You have any dreams? Yeah, actually I did. What'd you dream about? Dreamed about you. Good place to stop. Fantastic place to stop. This is where you stop. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Oh, I'm good. Just, waking up. Oh, you have any dreams? Yeah, dreams. What did you dream about? Oh, I dreamed about you. Oh, really? Yeah, I dreamed about you, and we went on vacation together, and then we actually had this like whole vacation plan. We were in like the Virgin Islands, and then I got us this like surfing lesson because we had talked on the day of I want to surf. I don't know why I was dreaming about surfing, but I dreamed that we were doing this like surfing lesson together, and then like the surf instructor was like kind of hitting on you a little bit, and then like you were able to surf really well, like you took to it like a duck to water, and I was like over here falling all the time, and because you were doing so well he was giving you extra tips, so he basically spent the entire lesson just giving you attention and everything, and then I was like fighting to not drown and just sort of laying on the board the whole time and everything, and then afterwards, after the lesson was over, he like slipped you his number, and so then we went to dinner. And while we were waiting on our food, I was like, oh, I'll be right back. And then I left the restaurant and I tracked him down. And I had a little conversation with him about, trying to steal people's girlfriends during surfing lessons, if that's something that he really does. And if he does it often, he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah. And then we took another little surfing lesson. We took a little trip down to the beach. And I just sort of pushed his, where the sand and the water sort of splash? Where the wet sand was, I just sort of pushed his head into the water until the tide was sort of going over it, and so I couldn't really tell if there were bubbles or not because there's so much wet sand and everything, but I just sort of held it there until he stopped struggling, and then I woke up. I think it's important to be honest. I do. I just think it's important to be self-aware too. I'm not saying be a liar. I'm just saying like check yourself. Check in with yourself. Know who you are. Know what that's gonna sound like depending on the timing. Timing is everything. It's so important. When I was in high school, my boy, he finally asked this girl out that he had a crush on for a couple years, right? Finally just went for it. Something about summer just made him a new man. Asked her out, and she said yes. Oh, we're off to a great start. Asked her out, asked her to a movie. Asked her to a movie, and she said she wanted to see Spider-Man. Okay, great choice. Phenomenal date. We both like Spider-Man. We don't have a lot of life experience. We're crossing over heavily. So he said he'd take her to see Spider-Man. Take her to the movies to see Spider-Man. That was their date. What she didn't know, what he did was he didn't just buy their tickets to see Spider-Man. He bought out the theater. And timing is everything. Because they get there and sitting down, lights get low, previews even start, and she was like, wow, I thought other people want to see Spider-Man. I thought it was a pretty popular movie. And then he turns to her. With a biblical lack of self-awareness. after she says, I thought other people would have been in the theater, with us wanting to see Spider-Man. I've been hearing about it all week. He turns to her and he goes, oh, I made sure nobody would be here. Why even word it like that? What are you doing? He said that as soon as he said it, he saw the look on her face. He said it felt like she was waiting the whole movie for Spider-Man to rescue her. And that's why timing is so important. Because depending on when you do something like that, depends on how it comes off. This is a first date. Do you know what I mean? Even there are some people who would find that sort of gesture romantic if you said, oh, I'll take you to see Spider-Man. And I'll make sure we get our own private theater. Ooh, okay. That's different. But saying I'm going to take you to see Spider-Man and not telling her no one else will be there, even as you sit down, they have the popcorn, the drinks, everything. Middle of the movie, makes his move, tries to put that arm around her, right? And because there was so much room in the theater, she did sit one seat away. Because once he said it, I don't think, he just couldn't save it. There was no aspect of the rest of the movie where he wasn't like, you're locked in here with me. He said he had to keep turning to her the whole movie when stuff would happen, be like, crazy. It's wild, right? And so it can feel sometimes a bit hard to find your footing when it comes to attraction, because everyone, from the people closest to you to the people far away, feel far away. If you don't really know how to connect, and especially now, we've built a sort of like scary parasocial connection with people that we're attracted to that they can't possibly know on the other end. And then it comes out in comments online. It comes out sometimes in whole articles. There's a line between like fascination and then crossing over into something pretty weird. I don't know if y'all saw, but apparently Sydney Sweeney, the actress Sydney Sweeney, is going to be selling bars of soap that contain her bathwater. Now, if you don't know who Sydney Sweeney is, she is an actress that is like, not just like an A-list actress, she is her generation's like top bombshell. Like, people have been freaking out and lusting over Sydney Sweeney for a long time. And it is pretty creepy. It's like, don't get me wrong, she is a beautiful woman, but the way the internet makes sure that someone that you haven't met doesn't feel like a person to you is like why we have the sort of conversations we have. Because Sydney Sweeney is in not just lots of movies. She's in, Handmaid's Tale. She's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She was in Madam Web. She just has range, right? She does a lot. And the way that people, every time she is on camera, every time she's even mentioned, the way that people, almost as like an understood, acceptable amount of creepiness creep on her, has been something that's like compounded over time. Like she was in Euphoria, and then she was in other projects, and it compounded, and it started to like become exponentially creepy. And I think that this bathwater soap thing is brilliant on her part, because now she'll know the 5,000 men that need to be put on a list. Like, trust me when I tell you, if you buy Sydney Sweeney's bathwater soap, you will never meet Sydney Sweeney. That's gonna be her hit list right there. It's insane. It's truly wild. 5,000 bars. It's gonna go in a second. It's not even out yet. Doesn't come out till later. Just the anticipation is like going viral. And I don't know. We might be in a very bad place we can't recover from. 5,000 bars. I'm assuming they're only gonna let one person have each bar. Just get as many people on the registry as possible. I don't even know what you would do with you. Like, that's something you would get caught with. If as a man you bought Sydney Sweeney's bathwater soap, you can't let anyone in your life know you have it. That's everyone gonna look at you different. Because they'll know, as soon as they see it, they'll know some things about you. Like, you were at your laptop ready. I suppose 5,000 men who are in a rough place are going to be buying this bathwater soap, which doesn't even make logical sense. It's dirty soap. And I say 5,000 men because I'm not saying that there's no women who have a crush on, Sydney Sweeney. I'm just saying that as men, we are both grosser and more practiced at using our laptops for these exact things. I'll tell you something that I don't even honestly, if I'm being 100% with you, I don't even know if I can word this correctly so you understand what I'm saying. I know a man who knows his favorite page of an adult website by the URL by heart. That is absolutely insane. Do you know how down bad thirsty you have to be to remember http:// baddiesonrollerskates.com / B12 $, $2. I'm wondering how we got here. Truly, I'm wondering how we got here, not just as a society, but with the promotion, with the soap company. How did this happen? Because you know it wasn't Sydney Sweeney's idea. Sydney Sweeney didn't roll up in there like, you know what people love? Me. You know what I can spare? Bathwater. Let's sell it. That's business. I think a sick man, a definitely sweating man with an unfortunate voice, said to Sydney Sweeney and me, look, young lady. I believe, and this is just Jebediah Jones talking, all right? Because a lot of nasty men talk about themselves in the third person. This is just Jebediah Jones talking. But I believe that people would pay for your bathwater. We make soap. You bathe. Let's make some money. Like truly, I think that's how it went down. No, because even in the tweets that I've seen about it, I think these are Sydney's words because they're in the quotations. But you know, in it, she's sort of playing off of the idea that this is a thing that people have talked about on the internet before, and she's like, well, you know. This is something people have been asked for. Figured it'd be a fun way to do it. I hope it just makes men think about taking care of themselves because I've been in some pretty gross dudes' bathrooms. That completely flipped the script for me. When I read that, I was like, what disgusting man made Sydney Sweeney go, I gotta do something. Sydney Sweeney is in your bathroom just looking around like, the ceiling get dirty? No, I wonder what experience Sydney Sweeney had where she was like, I gotta do something, all right? I gotta figure it out. How can I get men to bathe? I'll do anything to get men to take a shower. Fellas, we're in a bad way. Because you know fundamentally every man that buys that bar soap needs it. This is rough. This is really rough. You know? Because even with that general idea, right? When you hear that as a man and you tell other men, guys, Sydney Sweeney put her bath water in soap to get you to buy soap. Because she just wants you to take care of yourself. Dudes are so delusional. They be like, she cares about me? Wow. I like to check in on my friends. I was texting a friend. I'll read it to you. I was texting. No, I told him I was going to do it. It's fine. I was texting a friend and I was like, hey, did you see the Sydney Sweeney bathwater thing? This is crazy, right? Like, we're truly down bad as a nation and as a people. And then he responded, yeah, I can't believe it doesn't come out till June 6th.